absolutely lovely to have such massive brains join me here to talk about OptimallyMe, to talk about Davos, and to talk about the future of aging and longevity. And as aforementioned, I'm speaking to people that have such great achievements, and so many of them, and doctorates, etc. So way too many for me to remember. So I'm going to let you introduce yourselves. Dr. Kraemer.
Okay, so my name is Dr. Liv Kraemer. Actually, everybody's talking to Dr. Liv over the social media, and I'm an MD PhD. I'm coming from the stem cells and genetic background. I work at Columbia University and the Charité Hospital in Berlin, still teaching there. Have my skincare clinic since 10 years in Zurich, and having skincare products, and really passionate about longevity and skin, because skin is the first organ you see, the biggest one, and has a big impact on addressing like aging, because organs are aging, you don't see this, skin you do see, right? And so, and it's very important to educate people, getting to know about knowledge, because it's science, and if it comes to skincare, even then, and for supplements and everything else, it's an overall path. So like a couple of wheels, they're coming together before the big hand is moving. So.
Thank you. Evelyne.
My name is Dr. Evelyne Bischof. I'm professor of medicine in Shanghai University of Medicine and Science, and I'm chief associated physician there, as well as now also medical director at Shiba Medical Center, where I'm co-founder and leader of the Shiba Longevity Center. And I'm very passionate about healthy longevity, coming from the background of internal medicine and oncology. That was always a cross-section on biomarkers and comorbidities, a lot of complexity, where finally AI helped us to channel it through and maybe also to fuel it into the right path, so that we can have personalized optimization of health. And this is also what we call now healthy longevity medicine, where the optimization of health span along the lifespan by targeting aging-related processes.
Thank you. And Dr. Andrew Steele.
I am Dr. Andrew Steele, but actually my PhD is in physics, so I feel like the least medical one at this table. But I actually switched over to biology, because at the end of my physics PhD, I realised that ageing is our biggest social challenge, essentially. You know, it causes the majority of deaths in the world. I think the majority of suffering. And by the time you add together the cancer, the heart disease, the dementia, the frailty, all of these things that come along with the ageing process. So I became a computational biologist, like a data biologist, basically, for 5 years. And during that time, I found that not many biologists know that much about ageing either. And so I decided to take another left turn in my career and go from science into writing. So I wrote a book called Ageless, The New Science of Getting Older Without Getting Old. And the idea behind that is to explain what the aging process is and show that the scientific understanding of this is much more advanced than it was, say, 10, 20 years ago. And we're now at the point where we've got therapies that can slow down, maybe even reverse the aging process in the lab, and we're already starting human trials. And I think this is one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting areas of science. So I just tell as many people as possible about it.
See, I told you that long list of credentials, I was never going to remember that. It's so lovely to have you all here. And I'm really keen to understand more about your reasons for being in Davos and what you're looking to achieve here. So I'll open it out to you guys to discuss that. Andrew.
Yeah, so I'm trying to turn into a bit of a campaigner for this stuff, right? I think, as I said, aging causes the majority of deaths in the world. I think something that most people don't realise, if you're watching or listening to this at home, guess what you think global life expectancy is? How long do you think a person, averaged across the whole world, not just the rich world, can expect to live? And the reason I ask people to guess about it and think about it in their head is that most people make a guess it's far too low. The answer in 2019, before the pandemic sort of messed up the statistics a bit, to be honest, was 72.6 years. That's not just the rich countries, that's literally everywhere around the world. Now, on the one hand, that's perhaps our greatest achievement as a species. People are living long, healthy, happy lives in most places in the world. For the first time in human history, most humans alive today have the chance to grow old. But on the other side of the coin, that means most people in most countries are living long enough to experience the cancer, the dementia, the frailty, all this sort of laundry list of things that I was mentioning that are essentially biologically caused by the aging process. And so the reason I want to campaign about this stuff is I think it's the world's largest cause of suffering. And we have the science to rise to that challenge. We've got lots of sort of proof of concept work that shows us we can intervene in the aging process and make people live healthier for longer. It's a fantastic potential there. The problem is the public funding, so the government funding of this research just doesn't match up to the potential. So to take the example of the US they spend about $1 per person per year on public funded aging biology, which is wild because aging causes 85% of deaths in the US. Obviously, it's a richer, more developed country. They've got an aging population like we all have. And so I really think that we need to get the message out to investors, the wealthy people here in Davos, to the politicians, the policymakers, that this is something we need to be investing in, because I think it's one of the lowest hanging fruit in science, and it could really make a difference to the social, the economic, the health, the happiness, the whole fabric of the world.
And without name dropping, that's not what this is about, but how have you got on with your lobbying and
I mean, it's always hard to know, isn't it? I've met a lot of interesting people. I went to something called the Longevity Investors Lunch, where I spoke in front of an audience of, potentially pretty high net worth individuals, trying to convince them that this is a really important idea, and trying to convince them as well that not only do we need investment in the science, but I actually am advocating about aging biology. So what I'd like to see is, it's a very, it's a sort of niche pursuit at the moment. If you think about people lobbying governments, obviously pharma companies have a lot of lobbying power, all kinds of lobbies in government pushing for various policies. But there isn't really a coherent lobby for aging biology. And it sounds a bit niche when you talk about it with politicians. So I really think as well, I'm trying to convince people that what we need a think tank or an institute or something sort of pushing these ideas. And because a lot of these drugs aren't quite ready for pharma companies to jump in, they don't fall into that classic category. So I hope that I'm getting that message out there, but I guess, success will be measured in the next coming weeks, months, years, just see if any of this message got through.
Well, I've got my fingers crossed
thank
for
you.
And I know that everyone around this table is really interested in funding for the aging and longevity fields. What have you been up to?
So, as you already mentioned, health span and lifespan, it's nothing. And people think longevity, they're thinking about beauty and living longer. It's not about living longer, but living also healthy. And if you're, for example, aging and you feel like 50 because we really try to reverse aging, you also would like to look. And the skin is really kind of the first approach to see aging, right? So you don't see aging organs, and it's hard to get to the majority of people to actually make them aware that aging happens from inside out, outside in, and skin is a good entry point to show that you should do something with. And there's a lot of longevity, it calls anti-aging longevity stuff. So we're really trying here to, as Andrew said, like really getting on the research part, also pushed by physicians, with real clinicians, making all come together, because it has an impact on economics. Because if we live longer and healthier, we can work longer, right? And what happens with our pension? It has to be extended then as well. So how we invest in our health longer and in our life. So it all has an impact also for politics, for the economics, and as Evelyne also said, AI is helping us to get all the data and helping us to the next step. So skin, I think it's an entry point, right? To make people aware of certain things, and also for the research part is nice accessible, because skin biopsy is easy. You don't need kind of mices, and you don't need something. You can use skin from a biopsy of having the kind of skin done from the eyes or surgery or on other areas. So it's easy accessible, and you can really use certain kind of drugs, seeing how does it works in an easy accessible way and visible way, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not about beauty, and it's really about healthy prevention, taking care about yourself, exercise, of course, good food, the really nutrition, because it has an impact. And as I said, skin is a biomarker, for example. If you have a gut problem, there's no more and more research coming, but the research is supposed to be funded. And right now there was no funding in this research because supplements and things like, oh, you don't need this. But it's important. For example, if you have a helicobacter, so bacteria in your stomach, you see it on skin. But people don't know. But if, for example, they have a rash around the mouth, it's like, oh, there's something going on. We should maybe refer them to kind of an internal medicine or to a longevity internal medicine physician, and keep them looking at it. And this is a kind of a nice combination to get everybody on one table and talk about longevity and what we can do for overall health and lifespan expanding.
And I love the way that's connected up. I'm actually learning something new today, which is brilliant. And I've spoken to Andrew before in this sort of setting, and I do find myself being educated, and it's great. So, Dr. Evelyne, how have you found your time in Davos, and can you educate me further?
Well, I resonate with you. I think those events are amazing to be educated, to to learn from every person you meet. You learn something, right? And there is such a great diversity here of people from different brands, and they're all brilliant. And so it's been a very rewarding experience. And I was very blessed to be invited to be on several panels on AI in healthcare, and also on the longevity launch. We were talking about AI in longevity, which is really kind of the base. So when we were looking at longevity, healthy longevity back in 2020, at that time still, in a smaller group, but with very powerful people. So Dr. Kai-Fu Lee, who is like the godfather of AI, and Dr. Javorunk, almost the godfather of AI-based drug discovery, we were looking at saying that longevity is AI-driven precision medicine. And that was 3 years ago. And for the first time, we used the word longevity medicine. And we built this longevity course for physicians. Overall, what I'm trying to say is, first of all, I'm so happy that this year, World Economic Forum is really shining with AI topics in all areas of life, which I think is so great. Coming from Shanghai, where the society is also driven by AI, and I appreciate it, and I love it, and I encourage it. I think we have so many topics here on AI in healthcare in a very interesting way. So we have people from Microsoft, from Bayer, so people from big pharma, people from highest tech, people from ChatGPT and any other generative AI development. So we had it all here, and we were really able to discuss how we can work together to bring it forward, and not only to discuss and to declamation, but actually also to have some very clear ideas and real exchange to move it forward. And my goal here was really to achieve that, to be with people who are also very passionate about AI in healthcare, who want to see the progress in a specific direction. I'm very happy to see that this direction kind of matches for most of the people. And last but not least, I really hope, I think education is the base for everything. I'm very passionate about physicians' education in longevity and AI, but educating investors, stakeholders, policymakers, healthcare insurances, those people who are doing their part in society, where it's very powerful that they can implement change. It's really great, and re-educating is always more difficult than educating. So I'm very happy that in such a place there is time and space to give people the information that hopefully will guide us all as humanity to the right direction.
I'm so glad that you've been speaking about the education side of things, because when we spoke a few weeks ago, you told me that your wife's a doctor,
Yeah,
a medical doctor.
Can I be an MD by association?
No. But what I'm going to say is that the thing you mentioned, that you were surprised that she didn't have any lectures when at university on aging, right? And it's about trying to get that education for everyone. Okay. This is brilliant. It's really lovely to have so many passionate people around the table. What made you passionate about OptimallyMe? And I won't call out names. How are you?
I think one of the things that I saw in the news recently actually has really reinforced the importance of basically blood testing. So there was an initiative. The UK actually is one of the world leaders when it comes to health data. They're collecting loads and loads of data from huge numbers of people. Obviously, the NHS is a national healthcare provider, so they've got millions and millions of health records, all essentially under one roof, which is basically unique in the world. There's a few smaller countries that also have a similar system. But they started a huge project called Our Future Health. And the idea is they're going to collect 5 million people as the target. They're going to do blood tests and various other kinds of tests on them, and they're going to watch them over 5-10 years, see how their life progresses. And the first stage of that data collection finished in the last few months. And what they found was that over half of the people tested had cholesterol that was so high that they should at least be looking to do some lifestyle and food modification, if not taking drugs for it. And you just think, there are people walking around, and something like cholesterol is a cumulative risk factor, is what we say. So every year you spend with high cholesterol, that allows those plaques, the dangerous things that accumulate in your arteries that can later go on to cause heart attacks and strokes and all kinds of problems. They're just building up slowly and slowly and slowly. And if you're my age, if you're 38, even if you're 48, 58, you might not have any symptoms of this build-up happening at all. You're walking around, you're eating your burgers all the
So
time.
how do you understand that build-up? So is that similar to, say, like obesity, like as a cumulative in the more fat that your body is storing, the more health risks you might have?
Yeah, and also the other thing with obesity, again, is cumulative in time as well as in quantity.
Right.
So obviously the higher your cholesterol is, or the more overweight you are, and then the longer that you sustain that for, because it's as though that damage is building up throughout your life. And actually, the positive flip side of this, because it's important not to see it all as negative, it means that it's never too late to try and intervene and try and fix that. So even if you are 58 and you discover that you've got high cholesterol, if you can reduce your cholesterol with a combination of perhaps eating a bit better, perhaps taking some things like statins or other cholesterol lowering drugs, that cumulative effect means that you can see that benefit, and it's going to mean your heart attack risk is still lowered, no matter how late you start. But what I think is really important, and what OptimallyMe can hopefully help people do, is be a bit more aware of their own health. Be aware of things like their cholesterol numbers, things like their resting heart rate, if they're putting their wearable data in, and so on. And it's quite basic stuff. It doesn't have to be complicated, but just knowing these simple indicators. I'm actually quite late to the wearables revolution. I was really resistant to having a smartwatch for a very long time.
Myself.
Still not got one.
Yeah.
And it was actually my wife that talked me into it. She got one a couple of years before me and said, it's really interesting looking at all the data. And I was like, I can just go for a run. I don't need to track my heart rate while I'm out running. What are you talking about? But I got one. And you start with the real basics. You start seeing, watching your resting heart rate vary over time. And it actually really surprised me. Your resting heart rate varies from day to day, from week to week. If there's a week when, like this week, I'm not getting quite enough exercise and it's a bit busy, I can watch my resting heart rate, unfortunately, climbing up. And then there's the motivation next week, and I get back home and I start going for a run again, and it's going to hopefully come back down. And so you really get this sort of short-term feedback loop. And it's the same with cholesterol. If you change your diet, you can see your cholesterol go down over the period of a few weeks. Now, of course, the NHS is fantastic, and they do look at these kinds of things. You will get a cholesterol test from your doctor. But often these things are done every 5 years. And so, all kinds of stuff can happen in that intervening time. And, this doesn't mean you have to test your cholesterol every day. That would be complete overkill. But if you can just get a little bit more aware of what your levels are, a little bit more aware of what steps you can take to improve them. They don't have to be big steps at first. You're just taking those first baby steps. It's like me with my wearable. I started just watching 1 or 2 numbers, but then slowly you get a bit more into it. You get to know your body a bit. I think that's one of the ways you can really drive positive change in health. So I'm really excited about trying to catalyse that a bit.
You're definitely selling the wearables too. and you're absolutely right. OptimallyMe is great for that, right? It's an opportunity to, without going to your GP, etc., to get some more information to empower you to make the right decisions for your health. But just on this wearables, because I like the topic, are you equally fans of wearables and the advice that you can get?
Please go ahead.
No, please go. I'd like to know your opinion, honestly.
Yes, of course. It's a backbone, right, for my work with my longevity patients. It's on so many levels, so great. I was very blessed to be inspired already back during my times in the University Hospital of Basel by one of my chief physicians, Jens Eckstein, to look at wearables. And it was 12 years ago, okay? He was so visionary. He's like, we need to have the trackers here in the hospital to get the data here. It cannot continue this way that the nurse has to go and measure blood pressure 2 times a day and then to write into the note, like it cannot be. And I said, okay, and then he said, and then we have to go to better monitors that can track, your electrolytes through the sweat and to measure your ECG, like just by the finger top. And then he worked with Apple. So I went out of my training time or my residency and fellowship with this in my heart, and I'm just so grateful. And then it all just boomed and developed and improved, and I love to try out and experiment. I find myself very often, you'll find me like 3-5 watches and several rings and this. And I have a friend who is even crazier than me. He's a genius, an expert. He was one of the first IBM people. He's trying all the trackers on sleep. We like to exchange our experiences. So yes, trackers are important. They give me objective markers. Of course, they are not accurate, but for what we are tracking, we need the trends, not the accurate data. And if the delta is fine, then it's great. They are easy. They are now very comfortable in most places. It's just right now there's such a abundance in the offer that I think it's very important that the physicians will know which wearables to suggest to patients in order to track the right things. And there are also what, I'm always very, I try to make sure that it's affordable. Yeah. So I'm very happy that for many wearables, the prices are going down and there's a good and solid quality, and, without giving names, but again, wearables can be not expensive and equally good. You just need to look out for them for a moment, and you will find an abundance as well, luckily, and they're getting better and better. And yes, they are also a way for me to work with my patients, because I need those data. I need those data daily, all the time. And yes, passionate.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. And do wearables have any sort of weight on dermatology?
I would say maybe like measurements UV. I think, let's put it this way. I like wearables, but to make people aware. I don't have them because I know that if I'm going too late to sleep, that I did something right and I do it. But for example, like all measurements, like glucose measurements and everything, people need this feedback because they are not aware, right? And getting better on it and getting feedback. And if it comes for example, also blood drawings and getting blood results, the problem is, what I also try to teach med students is like, we grow up as physicians as sick. If you're not sick, bye. We see each other then a couple of years later if you get sick, right? And our insurance system is like, okay, and it's an insurance. It's like, if your house burns, insurance is coming in. So what is great is like, if you have insurance and you are really sick, you get done everything. But I think it comes to the person, he needs to be kind of a little bit for himself more kind of conscious and take care about himself. So not saying, oh, I need this over the insurance. No, you have to track. It's your responsibility to take care about yourself and kind of blood tests at home, for example, I do like, because sometimes you need at 8 o'clock a blood test. So who has the time to go to a physician at 8 o'clock? And for example, women, you have to measure hormones or certain things on a certain point, on a certain period. To have them there, an appointment, is impossible. And for us physicians, sometimes also impossible, because like, look, you have to do this and this, and then I can go with insurance. And the physician can't communicate. He said, like, look, I just can't do this over the insurance of a certain path. Instead of communicating, look, this is a bank path, but you also can do the other ones, but you have to pay for it, right? It doesn't mean it has to be accessible for everybody, absolutely. If you're sick, you get taken care of, but if you're not sick, you want to take care, you also have to be aware, not going over insurances, going for yourself and measure it. So, and therefore I found it very, very, very important that people get aware of certain things and take care and measure it, and not too often, but still get the information and take something out of it. For example, of skin, you can do certain tests for Helicobacter, so bacterial at home, which is very nice to see already. You don't need to kind of go and access a doctor's office. So it has to be something of vague, right? I think we are still not there. It has to be kind of coming out and put all the things together and then see in which direction we're heading.
It's decided, I'm going to start a wearables company with that slogan, wearables for awareness. It's brilliant. I'm going to do it. But to bring it back to OptimallyMe, the conversation of wearables always interests me in relation to OptimallyMe. Of course, we don't have a wearable, but wearables are about awareness, and they give us data about our health. And OptimallyMe kind of goes that one step further, offering us information about what's going on inside, lots and lots of biomarkers. Dr. Evelyne, why were you so excited to become a part of OptimallyMe and the journey there?
Because the team was, before even getting into deeper discussion, was excited about educating physicians. So that was pretty much for me a sign that those people are really doing it for a purpose. And this purpose is right, and it fits for the society. So to be very honest, that was the first reason for me to even consider, looking deeper. And then, I think it's very important to have opportunities and offers for people to track themselves outside of the healthcare system if they can afford it, if they want to do it, and potentially also if they have somebody they can look at the results with, right? That's very important. But even if they can't right now, because there is not enough longevity physicians, there are just, you can't match by far even the GP numbers with patients, but longevity is a far different way. So as long as you can create your own longitudinal data as an individual, and there is never too early to start and never too late to start, you definitely invest in your health, 100%. Because once you find a longevity physician, and hopefully we'll have more through that education, through bringing this into the universities, and then when you present yourself with those data, you will have much better chance that this physician will be able to really help you, to guide you and to optimize your health further. Otherwise, you will have to start from scratch, right? So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I agree. I mean, you're extremely interested in the education side, and that's something that OptimallyMe are really interested in doing, because it actually then makes, the idea is that we're going to go from strength to strength, and the more people that are educated within that area, the more people are going to see the offering that we have. So agreed. How does OptimallyMe excite you from a dermatological perspective? Because again, this is another educational area for me, because we're about data on the internal. How does that?
So I love the approach of education, as Evelyne already mentioned. So to a physician, as she does, for me, it's kind of the main public, right? And it's over social media. You really kind of try to educate, right? For example, in skincare is not a hobby. Skincare is science, right? And having the right markers and making it more aware, right? Not putting certain stuff on stuff, and just because a new TikTok trend is coming. But also educating students, which I do at the Charité Hospital, like making them aware that there are markers, there is AI, because they not getting in contact with us, because it's not the kind of the way how we get taught medicine and how we are growing up in university. So making them aware for them, because they're the next generation, right? I'm approaching 50, so it's kind of, for me, it's like really getting back and getting the education, getting people really knowing about themselves, coming back to the end consumer. So really knowing what they're doing, being in charge, I would say, be in charge of your health, your skin, and then do the right kind of decision, right? And helping you with certain gadgets, blood tests, certain things to be aware and optimizing it.
I'm so glad that you phrased it that way, because OptimallyMe is about empowering people to make the right decisions. And I've said it already before, so that's a repetition from me, but I'm sure I'll repeat it again, because that is what we're all about. To talk specifically about the technology involved in what we do at OptimallyMe, is there anything there that particularly excites you, or is there something that can move forward for the average person?
I think what excites me the most is the potential for it, because I think at the moment this is a field that's really in its infancy. I was actually chatting earlier about it was actually about wearables, but I mean, you can apply this to blood tests as well. The idea of trying to find what is an optimal way to get someone on this sort of health journey. So you start out, perhaps tracking one particular thing, and how do you then move them in the right direction? Because you can't start with everything at once. And I think it's very frustrating. I've used some wearables. I actually, just sort of as an experiment while I was out running, told my wearable that I was training for a 5K, just to see what the training plan it would give me would be. And that training plan was basically, it's the same. Everyone gets the same training plan, right? They give you some fast runs and some slow runs, all this various stuff. And it really frustrated me that they weren't using that data in any way, because they've got, the manufacturer I'm talking about has hundreds of thousands, millions of users, and they could be doing A/B testing, they could be using AI to look at how people responded to different training programs, and they could be customizing this. They know my age, they know my weight, they know my resting heart rate, they know more about me than my family does sometimes. And so they could be using that data to optimize that training plan or optimize your diet or whatever it might be. I think at the moment, we don't really know how to do that, because we've never had access to this level of data. Being able to do a blood test at home is a relatively recent phenomenon, and it's enabled by all kinds of technology. Some as basic as being able to buy stuff over the internet, but also the wearables, being able to collect people's data 24/7 for a relatively low cost. Having millions of people walking around with a heart rate sensor on their wrist just wasn't a thing even 10 years ago. And so I don't know where this is going to go, but I feel like there's definitely a lot of potential. And I think OptimallyMe is really interested in trying to mine that data and trying to work this out. Where exactly it goes, I don't know, but I think that's a journey that I'm excited to be on.
Yeah, agreed. And the dashboard that you receive once you've had your blood test and got your results, I've had my look at it, and it's really exciting. Again, and into the education part of it, I've learned a whole new vocabulary of of medical terms and biomarkers, etc. So that's been really, really cool, and I think that you're right. The future for health tech is really exciting. What excites yourselves about the future of health tech?
So what is it? I think it's about data, right? So as I said, it's like sick care now. We're trying to move to healthcare, awareness, educational, knowing your body, knowing your thing. Skin is easy access because you see it. If you do something wrong, it's wrong. But inside you don't have a tracker, right? And so you need feedback, right? And it's important not to overdo it, but in a certain way. Also collecting the data and going then to the physician and give him more like ways to show what you have done, so he can really make for you the correct decision to go into the next step, because you can do a lot of by yourself, but also overdoing things, right? And mixing, for example, also like supplements, too much, then with the medication it becomes a mess. So you have to have one person, and this is your longevity physician, who has everything in one hand, and wearables and everything with measures helps them to make for you the correct decision to go further and help you to go this path. Right? So what makes me kind of passionate is of course skin and because it's visible and the education and do less, right? Do it right and science first.
I am guilty of being one of those people that has a load of supplements, and I know what each individual one is meant to do, but I've got no idea whether they're all working, whether I should be taking them at the same time and all of that. So education is very important.
And there's a lot of stuff right overdone. For example, I like to give, if people have pimples, if they have kind of even rash, like rosacea or like certain conditions.
She's talking about me. She is.
No. We all got a race, we were all having like red cheeks now. No, it's about like, but also people overdo it. But the problem is also that in certain supplements, you don't even know what's inside, because there is in certain countries no feedback. The European countries, they have a really nice tracking where what has to be in. And then a lot of people say, this is just a low concentration. But the problem is people using this pill for like over years. And as an example for zinc, if you're using it over years, it's an accumulation, and then you're getting in a kappa deficiency. So therefore, it's related to each other. So you need to have a guidance also to kind of show, look, 2 or 3 months, get your measure, stop it, right? It's not like more is more, and if it comes to skincare, it's the same, more is more. No, it's not. Less is more. Same as with this. Be precise, and we're coming to precise medicine and getting more in systematic things. Be precise, know what you do, right? Be with the driver, be back in the driver's seat, right? But to need this, you need education and you need the knowledge, and you have to work with a physician who is like a trainer, right? Like I like to compare it with muscles. We know this. If we don't do nothing, we get weak muscles, and then we do something, but we need a trainer. We know a lot of stuff. We still need a trainer. We know the fitness center. We're all going there, but we need a trainer show us around. And this is a physician. He shows you where exactly what you have to do and put you on the right path. If it's like all over, it's a longevity physician. If it comes to skin, as a dermatologist, skincare longevity physician. However, it has to be really kind of your trainer who guides you, and the wearables and all the blood tests are helping this trainer to go with you on the right path.
Yeah, I really like that metaphor of the gym trainer. I like it in many ways, but also it does remind me that I haven't been in the gym this year as much as I wanted to, so thank you for that. Are you going to echo our beautiful colleagues, or is there anything else that you're interested in?
Of course, I'm going to echo, and I think AI is bringing healthcare into deeper and deeper precision. So, and we are really facing a revolution in terms of how generative AI can very quickly not only assist doctors, but in many places also partially replace care and give feedbacks, but to really optimize and personalize a continuum of a plan, of a longevity plan, of a health plan, even of sick care. I think AI will help us the most. So that's, and then tech, right? So besides of wearables, robotics is a very important point. I'm super excited about it. I'm very lucky that I'm in Israel and in China. So both places very innovative, very open to innovation in tech and in pharma and any other places. So we're using those things right now already, right? You feed AI algorithm into biopsy devices, you take samples, you push them through robotic labs. Those things really will move the needle so that the patient will, at the end of the day, will be able to really can say, okay, there is a reason why I'm taking all this data and collect it. So yeah, that's where I see the future going.
Okay, great. And as you were all giving me that idea of where you see the future going, I kind of also got an understanding of some of the past also. So am I right in thinking that the past couple of years, the growth in this area has been pretty exponential, right? What about in the immediate future, the next 12 to 24 months? Is that growth going to continue or plateau, or what do we think?
I think it's gonna grow and maybe even faster in potential, right? Because we've seen several of the developments being so fast that they are just blocked by some of the bottlenecks and barriers of execution, of human factors. As we move more towards robotics, those will be eliminated. So again, my mentor is saying like, well, robots don't sleep, they don't have emotions, you just do. They will have emotions. So I think 24 months we will see really huge changes, things fueled by Google and Microsoft and other companies, Nvidia, whatever they fuel and sponsor and really help to grow is quite amazing. And I think maybe those little efforts that really have a big impact will also finally bring more awareness and bring people together. So, like Shiba Longevity is the first department inside of the hospital, literally between urology and endocrinology. You go to the department of longevity for free as a patient. So if that will not move the needle in healthcare insurances, I don't know what will. So I'm still hopeful it will. I think we'll see a big growth. Generative AI will have more sensitivity and emotions. It will help us a lot to make algorithms and help us with people who already have some sort of not only mental neurodegenerative disease, but also to use their kind of movement, emotion, we call it agility, to predict their outcomes later on. And AI-based drug discovery. Like if this year we won't pass it through phase 3, it will not be because of the drug. It will be because of the regulations. And maybe that will also be a powerful voice. Like we have to change that to grow even faster.
And it's accessible. So as you said, it's in Israel, it's for free, right? So a lot of people think, longevity is just for the rich and the ones. And no, it has to be for everybody. And everybody has to, we just had today a really nice talk with a person who really said behavior change is problematic, right? So indeed, you have to find an angle with feedback, so the people really trying to change their behavior. And concerning the next pass, I think it's really growing, but awareness is a little leaking behind, because making the public aware to really making aware that it's such an impact for all of us. So while the research goes and AI is super fast on this, we have to match and also make the politicians, the economic, everybody also aware about this topic. So this is why we're here also on the web to really to put it there, creating us ideally like a think tank of longevity hub, which we're trying to implement, and really saying, okay, this is so many entities, and we really have to find a consensus and how to go and implement it for the broader spectrum, for the public, right? That it's accessible for everybody, because it will kind of hit all of us, particularly in the speed, which Evelyne just mentioned.
And I know that you're a campaigner for awareness in the field.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping, I think you're right, this trend is like growing and growing, and I think at the moment it's quite sort of, it's a lot about behaviour, and a lot about lifestyle, and a lot about diet, and a lot about sleep. Those are super important things, and I'm really excited about them. But I'm really hoping that this will be sort of a gateway drug, if you will, because what I'm excited about is actually probably a bit further out than 12 to 24 months. It's not like 50 years in the future, but in the next decade, we are going to have medicines that can intervene in the aging process, that can slow down the rate of aging in humans probably. We've got clinical trials going on right now for drugs that might be able to do this. And what I hope that means is that more and more people are going to become aware of longevity, of this idea of sort of preventative medicine. Because as we talked about earlier, a lot of medicine at the moment is very reactive. You have a heart attack, you go to hospital, they sort you out. But what we want to do is stop people having that heart attack in the first place. And so we really need to sort of, this gathering momentum of this conversation, I think it's really important that we can, again, educate people actually, that, diet and exercise and all this are super important, but they're not necessarily the best we can do. We can do even better if we couple that with drugs and supplements that are being developed now that are going to potentially radically improve how healthy and how long we can live.
Okay, brilliant. And on helping people live longer, we went into some detail with the with your book last time we spoke. I'm really keen to get your opinions on what people can do right now today, and maybe we've touched upon it with some wearables and tracking using OptimallyMe, etc. But is there anything that you see? There's what I'm trying to get at is the little things that no one really seems to know about, or seems to be putting into practice, but are perhaps simple for people to take that first step towards improving their health.
I mean, it comes to skin again, I would say. So I take here the first word. People see, if I'm in the sun, I get certain redness. So in the end, I always say we have to switch from old skincare serum cream to really actives and educating and making it simple, because 80% of all problems because of the less cell turnover and less protection. And the easiest way is just to making aware, just to putting a sunscreen, right, and UVA, because SPF is referring to UVB, not to UVA, different approach. But it's really kind of protecting yourself on a daily basis, right? And people think, I didn't moisturize, you need just a cream, and there's a UVA side. So making aware already on this. So, and then thinking, I can do more for myself. I can do little steps to implement. And then, for me, it's still kind of like getting aware from the sick care to healthcare, because there's so many things you can do by clean eating, good eating, looking what you eat, and implementing into your daily life, right? Which you do on a very easy step way. So it started with small steps and then goes bigger into the next steps, and really then to this kind of longevity, because people, I think, are still kind of nervous that they talk about longevity because I don't want to live forever. It's not about forever living, it's about looking the best, how you feel, how you want to feel, how you want to be healthy and enjoy the life on earth as much as you can with all the occasion and getting your impact on this world.
And hot take here, what's more important with skincare? What I'm putting into my body, food, drink, etc., or what I'm putting on my skin?
I think I like to compare it with a Swiss watch. We were here in Switzerland, we're in Davos, and it's everything. It's like a Swiss watch. A couple of wheels have to move before the big hand is moving. We don't know yet which kind of small wheel, because you can do everything right and you say, it's my hormones. It's like, well, with a good skincare, you don't even, with your hormones are chaotic, you don't even need to get it. So it's, I do everything right and I still have problems. So it's like, but you might don't eat correctly. So it's not just the food, it's not just the skincare, it's not just the supplements, it's like overall together. Who has a big impact? Who knows, right? We will figure it out, right? Maybe there is one tablet for everything, right? But in the end, we are now here and we have to start now. It's like start with small steps, right? Each single wheel will move till your big hand is moving to the correct way.
Okay. I love being compared to a Rolex. I like that. Have we got any tips on that side of the table?
I think it's a combination, right? Inside and outside. You cannot just focus on one. You will lose on the other always. It has to be a balance, and everything influences each other. Skin is our biggest organs in the body. It's important. It's so important, and on top of that, you can influence it so very much from the inside. Easy start. Get your 4 things right. Get your sleep, get your nutrition, get your exercise, and get your brain to function better. So train it a little bit, and you will have a good base. Will it move the needle significantly? No, but it will modify your epigenetics, and you will get hopefully the motivation to learn more, or to be guided properly by a physician, and then to further optimize.
And you've all mentioned food, sleep, exercise, and the fourth one. So.
Diet.
Thank you. Yeah, I said food. I said
I know you did. Exactly.
Food, sleep, exercise, and brain. Thank you. You've all mentioned those factors in our health, but they're all like personalised, right? Like what's right for me isn't right for Andrew, and etc. So how can people know? And I think that's where OptimallyMe steps in, and we're really keen to as I said earlier, and I said I'd repeat it, empower people to make those personalised choices for themselves. What are your takes on personalised healthcare?
I think actually quite a lot of it isn't that personalised, and it's easy to get lost in the weeds because the basics are the same for everybody. Like the first few steps you take for exercise are the most important few steps, and you can build up, and more is good for most people. I think the same with diet. Like I think although you can start getting down right into the nitty-gritty if you're a real diet expert, I think for most people eating more vegetables, eating more vegetable protein and more nuts, more legumes, that sort of thing, this is all very beneficial. It doesn't matter, your race, your gender, these things are going to be good for you. The same with sleep. There's no one in the world who can, say that they're getting 4 hours sleep and that's optimal for their health. That's not a thing. So I think actually, this doesn't need to be scary and micro detailed. The most important thing is to take those small first steps. And actually exercise is my favourite example here. Because if you are literally sedentary and you never move, you go from your bed to your car to your office chair to your car again, back to the sofa and just watch TV at home. If you just add a 5-minute walk into that mix, that already reduces your risk of death measurably. And then if you can start to slowly build that up, maybe park a bit further from the office, maybe try and use the stairs. And these things can sound glib, they're not going to solve all your health problems. But if you can then build up to the point where you're trying to get, maybe 15 minutes, half an hour per day. It doesn't have to all be literally.
It's the small steps
exactly.
that you're talking about, right?
And jumping in, because also for skin, you don't have to have a 55,000 skincare routine, which is on YouTube and on Instagram, and they're doing more mask and eye creams for a 12-year-old, right? I mean, first of all, we all have no time, right? And do it precisely. You do it very easily. Even a skincare routine, I was like, if I see my patients, I minimize it, right? It's like you're doing all the same. You have to have actives and knowing how to use the active because of hormones, stress, lifestyle, seasons, it's changing, and you just need these little kind of adjustments. So I totally agree. In the beginning, the steps, it's not personalized. It's just like knowing, right? Steps. For example, skincare, wash your face with active like food acid, AHA, BHA to get the cell turnover. Also kind of ingredients like retinol, and then protecting. 80% of all your problems will not be appearing. And then you can actually enter each problems later on to really address it. But in the beginning,
so
it's just like
personalization is about optimization.
Correctly. So starting first, you're kind of, I always say in my clinic, you have step level 1, level 2, level 3, and then you're free, right? You have to do each steps, and then you see yourself, you get your measurables, you get your kind of feedback, you're learning about yourself, and then you see it's working, right? So it doesn't matter if it's kind of, if you do your exercise, you do the correct skincare program, you do kind of living or even mental health is also a big topic. So small steps, as Andrew said, implement it slowly in your life, and you see the results.
Thank you. I think that we're going to end there, but it's been an absolute pleasure to sit around and be educated by some very, very, very talented big brains in the room. And we're really keen to do more with OptimallyMe moving forward. And I know that you're all very excited about the business too. So thank you very much for your time today.
If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at Stato on Twitter. You might call that X these days. I'm at Andrew J. Steele on Instagram, or my YouTube channel, where I post lots of interesting content about health and longevity and some other science stuff too, is Dr. Andrew Steele, all one word.
feel free to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, Evelyne Bischof, MD PhD, and or on Instagram, Dr. Evelyne Bischof, and also on our education platform for physicians, longevity.degree, where physicians and not only can get educated about longevity for free.
So yeah, follow me on Instagram on Dr. Liv, so DILIV, or my YouTube channel, also Dr. Liv Kraemer, or on TikTok, Dr. Liv, and on LinkedIn for all more scientific background and studies on Dr. Liv Kraemer. And hopefully I give you some insights about the skin, overall health and nutrition.
If you're interested in the future of health tech and understanding more about your own body and empowering yourself to make the correct decisions for your health, you can hit the follow button now so that you can keep up to date with all of our content.